Welcome to the Specialty Cropcast on Pomes and Stones. Join us for real conversations with farmers, agribusiness owners, and industry experts as we dive into farming, products, and the business of agriculture, all from the people who know it best.
All right. Welcome.
We're back.
We're back, guys. After a long
2 weeks.
couple weeks. Yeah, Easter got right in the way.
It's terrible.
Couldn't sneak away. Pesky family time when you're in the business of running a podcast, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
But in that amount of time, we have seen a lot of change here in northern Michigan. Things are popping. Things are moving. Trees are turning green. All the farmers are
Finally getting outside.
Yep. Dusting the tractors off, and
It's tough this
Testing
time
the
of year though,
sprayers.
because like one day you're in a t-shirt, the next day you're got your Carhartts back on.
that's so true. My favorite is that I start the day in a sweatshirt, and then it hits 60, and then by the end of the week, I have like 5 sweatshirts in the back of my
Back of
truck.
your truck.
And I'm
Yes.
going, and in the morning, I'm like, where are all my sweatshirts at?
Yes.
But they're all in the truck.
I actually have an Integra sweatshirt for Zach in my
Nice.
truck.
Oh, yeah?
I wore it the other day because I was cold and I didn't have anything else.
Were you swimming in it?
Yes, it was very large on me, but
Perfect. So this week, we actually had a cancellation in our schedule for our guests, so you're just going to be dealing with the 3 of us this week,
Yep.
which is okay because we have a couple things to talk about and explain a little bit what we've been up to, at least on each of our farms, and so that's what we're going to do this week. Pretty simple, and then we're going to have some sponsorship stuff rolling in for the next couple episodes, which is exciting.
right. We don't want to announce who our sponsor is.
Not yet. We got to keep the folks guessing.
I love it.
So we're excited about that, and then we're going to have we have at least 2 to 3 weeks of some great guests that should really bring some good educational
Yes.
farming value beyond what we can give you. So very excited about that. So I guess we'll check in with everyone. How was the Easter and first week of farming?
Easter was good.
Yep.
You know, it was busy. First Easter at my in-laws' new house, so that was cool. Yeah, weather was great. Had a big Easter egg hunt with the kids. Yeah.
Perfect. Zach?
Little Easter brunch at the cousin's house, uncle's house.
Nice.
That was about it.
It's a classic brunch.
Yep.
I always mistake it with the Mother's Day
I know.
going out, right? Because
Right.
it's always a Mother's Day. We always used to go
Up to the resort.
up to the resort. Airy.
Airy,
Yes. Well, mine was
The
good.
views. Yes. How
I
was
did
yours?
something Saturday night, obviously, because we couldn't do the podcast. And
Yep.
then we did something with my in-laws on Sunday. It was
Easter,
great.
Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, we did do an Easter egg hunt. We did a church one, as well as at my in-laws. Sorry about that.
Obviously, your oldest boy doesn't quite understand it yet.
He loves it, though. We left
Yeah.
him some clues.
Right.
Like, where do we dry our clothes? And he ran right to the
Oh, nice.
the
Got a
washer.
basket?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep, got a basket with stuff in it he absolutely didn't need, or stuff he's already lost. But
What are you doing?
I was just trying to adjust. I got some static in my headphones.
Is it
I'm
me?
trying to figure out. No, I think it's either my headphones or it's picking something up. Maybe there's
Yeah, I do hear it though.
might be too many cords touching. That's also a thing potentially. But we can fix that.
I do hear it.
I've heard that though.
Huh. Anyways,
I don't like that. Go ahead. So farming,
right. So, what have you guys been doing the last couple of weeks on the farm?
spraying.
You
Yep.
got your first spray on?
Yes, we did. We had to go out there and get our stuff protected right off the rip.
Yep. Apples, cherries.
Both.
We just did apples,
Yeah.
early varieties. We haven't
Yep.
got into everything yet.
Yep.
Yeah, I did the apples midweek, and then we rolled right into cherries shortly after that. Sweet cherries and then tart cherries. Mm-hmm. So I'm
And,
not really sure what they're
Just the
spraying on
side, or
cherries.
you do full covers on cherries?
Cherries, we do halves.
Halves.
We do halves on the cherries, full on the apples later. We did half
You
cover
didn't
right
do
now.
full this time.
Not
yeah.
this time, because we, half of 3/4 of our orchard is so young that it's
Right.
it's just it blasts like 10 rows away. So.
Right.
We only do half sides right now too. There's not much foliage and stuff out there, so
Even on the mature
Yep.
trees?
Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha.
We'll do that for a few sprays, and then we go all full covers.
We did end up doing a full cover on our farm because we had some disease issues last year, but hoping to get that cleaned up.
Yep.
Just trying to get on top of it, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So just spraying. What else? Plant some grass.
Your camera should have.
I don't know why I did that.
What's your next spray in apples? You were just talking.
Boy.
Worried
Yep.
about the temperatures.
So I was talking to some guys down on the ridge. They're dealing mainly with powdery.
Okay.
They can't seem to get it under control the last couple of years, so they're running lime sulfur on the next spray, I believe,
Okay.
because they're relying that heavily for powdery mildew. So I think we could possibly do that up here. I haven't quite 100% decided yet, but
You don't run that with the oil, do you?
no, not at that point.
Okay.
No, it would just be lime sulfur, depending on which one you use, the rate
Well,
is
you were
different.
just talking about a cover tomorrow night on apples. And worried about the temperature. What were you guys?
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
of?
So, no, our apples are already covered. He's spraying tarts.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oil on tarts, huh?
Oh, really?
Interesting.
It's not a usual thing, I will say, but
I don't think I've ever done it.
Yeah. But on the apples, absolutely.
yep.
We did a little bit of dam oil and badge
Yep.
is our copper of
Copper.
choice,
Right.
which is a copper.
Yes,
a
badge,
granular copper
you use
for
the
those.
badge X2 or SC?
We use the X2 up north and downstate. I think we use a lot more of the SC.
Why do you use the S2 up here and SC down there?
We just like the X2. I don't have a problem with it ever mixing.
Is it? Well, you guys do have some organic acres.
Absolutely,
So
and that's why we
the
buy both of
X2
them.
has the Omri label,
Yep.
so you can spray it organics.
So we're here talking about oil
Correct.
and why we would use oil, which seems like an interesting thing to spray on trees.
Right. Well, especially interesting on tart cherries. And the whole point that we're doing that is better coverage. Still, you get the suffocation of spores with the oil mixed in with the copper, so it's still like a two modes of action type thing. So that's why we threw that in there.
It would also smothers eggs
Yes.
correctly. Like it would choke out like scale.
Scale. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, so we are also doing that in apples.
Apples.
That's what we were saying. We have
Apples,
copper,
sweet cherries. If you have sweet cherries.
Yep.
Yep.
All smart plays early, and some people like to skip out on those. And the copper's good to knock back your canker.
Yep.
But some people like to skip those sprays because they don't think it's worth it. And then their cherries look not so great later. And they're like, well, I don't know why.
It's the time of the year to spray the most hostile spray you can spray, right? Because you don't have any green tissue
Right.
to worry about burning. So, we want the spray to be hostile. We want the oil copper mixture because it causes phyto.
Right. You don't want to get burnt. What's
To-
phyto?
Oh boy,
Phytotoxicity is what he's referring
what
to.
is the actual definition of that word?
Ooh, gonna have
Zach?
to look it up.
We
Yeah,
can
Zach,
we can get the
Google
actual
it.
definition, but if you spray it when it's too hot or too consistent and too close of a window, you can burn your leaves. So you can actually do harmful damage and turn cherry trees. They'll turn yellow and then they just fall off. way
Also,
early. Defoliation can occur.
yes, right, and spraying oil close to freezing temperatures.
That's true. We just learned that. We
We
just
did.
had a caller.
We did. We just had a grower call in and be like, "I want to spray tomorrow morning."
10:30 at night, he calls and says, "I need to call my crop consultant."
Yes,
Dedication right there.
Love picking that
and
phone
he
call
was
up.
super happy when I told him not to go because it's supposed to freeze tonight. Now he gets to sleep in.
He says, "What temperature should I be concerned at?" I said, "Well, it's 30 degrees out right now." Not quite 30 degrees.
Yep. That's
So-
the life of a crop consultant, though.
That's
You
so
just-
true. A lot of questions.
Yep. Talk
But-
people off cliffs. You know?
So while we're on the topic of cold nights,
Yes.
what could a farmer do besides not spraying oil? What can you do to protect your trees?
Hmm.
Are there some nutrients out there that we can use
There are.
to protect our
Absolutely.
crops? What would those
There's
be?
also mechanical ways to do this,
There are.
which I know you guys do on your farm. You actually do a couple different things.
Yes, we do.
Frost fans is one of them,
Correct.
and we're going to dive into those a little bit deeper
Sure.
today. find out actually more about them. And then there's the potassium acetates. Potassium acetate is a actual foliar fertilizer, and although it doesn't directly protect your buds from freezing, it actually promotes natural antifreeze molecules called osmolytes. I could be saying that wrong.
So what you're saying is applying potassium can help the tree defend itself by boosting its internal defenses. It's not as much as us
Yes.
changing outside things. It's about internally affecting the tree.
And that's why the acetate is quickly absorbed by trees. So usually you spray it within 24 hours of when
I do believe that's true. Yes, very as close as you can before a frost event.
well, you want it
Don't they
to
say
get in.
something that it like insulates the bud too, so it will help protect the pistil? Something about keeping it a little warmer.
Well, the pistol's not out till
Right.
autumn. But we'll spray it as early as the first frost event. Well, once we hit the water stage, because
Yeah.
obviously
Right.
right now, if we're not in the water stage, it's probably not why we're not too concerned at this moment.
When's the water stage?
When the bud begins to take in water, either from the branch or from
Yep.
dew, rain,
Yep.
when it brings the moisture. But the tree
So-
actually, it gets to a certain point where the tree will actually have water in the bud, and up to a certain point, it'll actually take that water back out of the bud if it's a little early in the year. But eventually, it gets to a point where that's not possible anymore, and that's when you can have your freeze damage. But
Interesting.
that's how you can kind of protect your crops, at least fruit trees. Do people do it on apples? I'm new to this.
We haven't.
You never done.
No.
We've traditionally always done it, and it's been great because we've actually done in the same farm. It's almost like a test block we did because we couldn't get to it. It was like
Yep.
one of the last farms, but it was a 10-year-old tree, two orchards, 10-year-old orchards, and they both were pretty much adjacent to each other. And one got the potassium, and the other one didn't. And one had a crop that year, and
Yep.
one didn't.
Yep.
And
I was
They were relatively
yeah.
similar topography.
Yeah. I was just talking to an older guy actually that had done that exact same thing years ago.
Mhm.
And the one black had less fruit. Pretty evidently.
I'm telling you, people
So-
have to see it to believe it. You can talk all you want about it, but results.
Actually, there's another acetate called calcium acetate that I'm interested in playing around with, kind of the same thing. Tank mixing the two.
Do that on your own farm
Yeah, for sure.
first.
Yes. Yep.
For frost
Yeah.
protection? Okay.
Yeah.
Why calcium? We're putting calcium on our organics.
Right.
That's what I was
Foliar
told.
or
Yeah.
on the ground?
No, foliar.
Anyway,
Anyway,
right.
We
Frost
have-
fans.
with the frost fans. So what we use is Bruce kind of talked about it last week. If you guys watched that episode, is we use mechanical ways in order to kind of manipulate the air in the orchard. So we'll actually put fans in the low spots of the orchard, which are just conversions or just pretty
What
much
are these big
essentially a
fans?
motor.
Like, how did you get these
They're
big
old pickup trucks. Like, what did he say? He was like a 76 Blazer.
Right.
It's like one,
The
just like
frame?
a forklift. He was referring to the forklifts, but we
So-
pretty much take just the motor and the transmission and most of the actual frame. And we weld it and manufacture a drive shaft that goes into a bunch of fan blades, just like a box fan at your house, and just attached to a
huge.
motor.
How big are those fans?
Probably as big as the wall behind you guys.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
The bigger
Like
ones are
8 by
probably
8?
that big, a little bit small. Yeah.
I don't know what that
I mean,
swallow
when
is,
they're
but-
on full blast, you can go in front and like lean in, like the chick from the Titanic.
Oh, yeah. And- nice.
You can lean into them and it'll hold you up. I mean, they move some serious air, and then we
Yeah.
actually put boards up, and we
Right.
create like a funnel. And so
Right.
when you fire them up and after they warm up and you rev them up all the way, I mean, the air you feel it just blows and just sucks it right in.
And you put those in low spots.
low spots, correct? And then we use
So you're trying to pull warm air
Down.
into those lower areas.
correct. We're trying to move
The air from where? From
from above
up high?
up high, due to an inversion. Does
Oh,
anyone
boy.
here know what an inversion is?
Oh,
No.
no.
I've heard the
Don't
term, but I
ask.
don't know what
this
it
is like what is this? This is
Wait.
got to be like 7th grade weather. We're trying to figure out. So an inversion is when there's a pocket
Nice.
of cold air that is trapped below a level of warm air. It's usually 30 feet or so, give or take, depending on where you're at. And so our goal is to, and that's when a frost occurs, is when that pocket of cold air gets stuck at the surface. And so what we're trying to avoid, or we're trying to remove that effect. So we have fans on towers that look like windmills, but they're smaller. That's what Bruce alluded to. We call them Chinooks or orchard right towers. They rotate. He talked about getting air on the flower
So
every
it's like
4
a
minutes.
windmill.
Yeah, except it rotates in 360 degrees.
Gotcha.
And they say, what did he say? 350 to 400 feet circle
Yep.
at the edges.
Yep.
And so those do a great job of moving that air. And then when we pair it with those fans in the lower areas, it really helps move that. And we can change the degrees in an orchard 2 to 3 degrees.
Which is huge.
Which is saving your crop and
Yep.
or losing it. So
Yep.
that's
So-
one way to do it. And there's also the Phil Brown towers.
Yes.
You've seen the yellow ones. Those look a little bit different. But
Nice.
they have the same result.
I was gonna bring up the cannons, right? Chris Croft has cannons.
He has a hail cannon.
That's for hail.
He has a hail cannon where it actually shoots, I don't know, what is it, subsonic?
I have no idea. I've never
Supersonic?
seen it,
It's-
but I just
it's
heard
something.
about
What
it.
was a cannon gonna do for frost protection?
Right?
Nothing. It's not going to do anything.
I
but it
thought you
actually-
blasted like warm water up in the air.
Yeah. No, it shoots something of some sort of
That's
subsonic wave up into the clouds and busts up actual clouds. You can see it on the radar, supposedly, when he fires it off.
Wow.
But as he'll tell you, you have to be there to turn it on when you have a hail event. Because I think he actually had a hail storm come in, but he was out of town
Missed
and
it.
never could
Yeah.
turn it on.
Yeah.
Which
That was
it-
last year they
just
got
like
the
the
bet, or was that 2 years
I
ago?
think it was 2 years ago.
I think it was.
Just
too.
like the frost fans, if you don't wake up to turn them on, they don't.
they don't do anything.
Can't
They
save
don't
your
really
crop.
good, Yep.
Just like if we're here podcasting and it's 30 degrees,
Gonna have to
Right.
push the old stop button and leave.
I have to just take off.
Right.
Yep.
I don't think we're worried about
You
that.
need to get
tonight.
start like the app to start them. Remote
Tom,
start.
we
like
actually
my truck has.
Yeah, we actually do. Remember, we have a remote start one out in Empire.
Yeah, he's got one. Yep.
It has to be manually armed, but we actually just got some new weather stations. So on our farm, we actually do a couple. I think we have 2 up here in northern Michigan and 1 in southern Michigan, where we have telephone poles put in on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, and we put temperature readers at the top at where the inversion would be, right? So this is how we can kind of predict when the inversion's coming, when do we need to start going out to turn fans on. So there's one
Nice.
up in the air, one at the surface level,
Yep.
and these measure humidity, wind speed, rain, and then all this is available on our phone.
Mm.
So I could pull it up. Actually, we actually get brand new ones put in this year. Tom just puts them in, and we can get alerts. So Tom will set it to text us. So like when the temperature dips below 30, our phones will all go off for the frost crew, which
Wow.
is Tyler, Bruce, and I. And so when it starts going below 30, we'll get a text message and it says, warning temp is below this, and then we'll get up and we'll start driving around. And the truck's not always accurate on the dash what the
Yeah.
temperature is, but
Yeah.
so that's kind of how we guess. We don't just go out when we think it's going to be cold like the old days.
Right.
We actually get alerted
Good
when
data.
the temperature drops below that, and then we could follow a graph and updates every.
You're making decisions
minutes.
based on better data.
Correct,
Yep. And that's what technology has helped farmers with in
Oh.
general, right?
dude. It's fantastic.
Yep. Yep. What other kind of technology you guys use on your farms? Smart sprays?
We use Raven
Yeah.
systems.
Yes. You use Raven systems.
We use Raven systems on our sprayers.
What are those?
which is just a computerized way, because we always used a blue pump, which a blue pump is you have a press wheel that touches either the sprayer or a tractor tire, sprayer tire.
Ground driven.
Ground driven, right? So as you drive, that's how it knows. You have the pump setting, and then it applies at that rate based on the speed you're going.
Gotcha.
So this is just a computerized way to do that. You set the rate, and then it also takes into effect speed because it's all computer. So you set the rate you want, and then if the operator goes below or above the recommended speed that the computer can't adjust, it adjusts the rate as it goes.
Gotcha.
But if you go too fast, it beeps at you and doesn't let you go there
Oh.
because then you're not applying at the correct rate,
Yep.
which is important because if you don't apply at the correct rate, what happens? You build resistance, folks, and that's not what we want. If you put a lesser material out,
What? Man, you
build
keep throwing out these
resistance?
words, and I got to go, what's resistance?
come on, you know what resistance
I
is.
do.
This is like farming 101.
Well, hey. Yeah, I just think
And then we also just implemented GPS planting on our farm
nice.
for the first time, which is pretty exciting. So we put John Deere GPS in a case tractor, which is a very interesting
Okay.
setup. My steering wheel is a John Deere steering wheel on a red tractor.
Nice.
which
Yeah, it's kind of goofy.
it's
looking.
kind of funny looking. It's a red tractor with a yellow globe on the hood.
Green and yellow
or on,
globe.
on the ceiling. Yep. So what we do is it obviously drives the tractor directly straight as we plant, which isn't any GPS system, right? But the kicker is that there's an additional part that we purchased called an application controller, which actually marks perpendicular lines across the field. And then we connect that technology to a light on the planter. And then when we cross that line where the tree needs to be planted, a light flashes. And then that guy in the planter just stares at a light.
Knows.
So we used to spend time cross marking
Yep.
parallel to the
Right.
straight lines on every single spot.
Yep.
And so it saves you time, money, diesel, which
Yep.
is money.
Yep.
It just makes the whole process faster. But you're only as good as the guy can react to the light.
Right.
If you got a slow guy on there, you're always going to be behind the line.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty cool adjustment. So our apples are all planted with GPS, and all of our plantings, or I guess cherries, we just did last year for the first time.
Yeah.
We did about 100 acres or so, 90 acres of new cherries. So that's a tech we're using. What about you, Zach?
Yeah.
What do you guys using?
All we have are smart sprayers. We've got 4 spray rigs, and they've all got smart sprays on them. Where got 6 eyes on the machine, and it just 6 different zones. And when it senses a tree and the branches in a certain zone, it flips the sprayer on. When you drive by, it shuts it off.
On the mature trees, does it do much, or do they stay on like the whole time, or does it turn off for like a split second?
Varies, in a lot of cherry orchards, you've got mature and younger trees mixed in there. So if you're going by a fully mature tree, it'll turn everything on. But if you go by a smaller tree
Does it-
and it only needs the bottom or the middle nozzles,
Yep.
it only turns those on.
I
So
also noticed weeds, turn them on, tall weeds.
they can.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
I've actually sprayed some tall weeds before. Yep.
That's usually not a good sign.
Ah,
if you
well,
have that.
hey.
Man,
Sometimes there's just not time to get
There's-
to everything, is there?
Right.
there's just
And
sometimes
weed control is
there's.
one of the things that
That's right.
That's
goes
funny
away.
because I love weed control. It's my favorite job on the farm to do.
Nice.
My favorite is weed spraying.
What's
We
your
have
favorite herbicide then?
glufosinate?
Yeah.
Dude, it just smokes everything.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We use it on just about everything except for young trees, very young trees. We stick to the gramoxone,
Oh yeah.
the paraquat.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, only licensed applicators may apply.
Right.
And you have to have if you have the new formula, there's a whole new bottling system that you have to use, which I'm sure Toby could help us out with.
Right.
explaining.
We're gonna try and get Toby from Syngenta on. He could tell us all about
He's
that.
great, the Syngenta rep for the western half of the state, right?
I think so.
He does a great job.
Yes.
Toby's a good guy. Hoping to have him on soon. He can explain a little bit more about how the gramoxone packaging has changed over the years in order to better protect those using it.
Right. Because gramoxone's active ingredient is paraquat.
Skull and crossbones on the box.
Paraquat is very dangerous to humans, and it's funny we spray it on our most vulnerable crops because it's safe on the trees.
Correct.
Right.
It has a great burn down. It's not systemic, so you
Yep.
can spray if you spray it on a 90-degree day, which you wouldn't do with most herbicides.
Yep.
But you can spray it when it's hot,
Yep.
and you come back 10, 12 hours later, the next morning, you'll see the stuff's
Weeds starting to
turning
die.
Yep.
stuff's turning colors, which
So-
obviously means it's
But
hot.
it doesn't last forever.
It doesn't. And
Right.
That's what it means. It's
And
not a
burn down
systemic
is
It's just a
killer.
burn-
right.
It's just a burn
The
down.
green that it touches, right?
Right. So-
Whatever, anything green or living it touches,
Correct.
it
And-
burns it off. The roots are still alive.
And glufosinate is more of a systemic killer. Correct?
I disagree.
Really?
It's a burn down as well.
I think it does a great job. We really tried to dodge the Roundup, though.
Well, yeah, there's a lot going on with that whole political stuff.
Well, there's that, and
There's lawsuits. There's,
it also is a chelator, which locks up key nutrients in the soil. And if your water is not conditioned correctly,
Correct.
it has a very fast half-life.
So you don't condition water for glufosinate?
We don't. We add AMS.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we have
it's
AMS.
conditioning the water.
Conditioning water.
Yeah.
Correct. No, but if you don't, if you're not paying attention to your Roundup, I feel like it has a much faster half-life. Does it not?
So Roundup definitely has a quick half-life once it hits the soil, for sure. Its life in the soil is almost non-existent.
It does do a good job, but we try to avoid it. I think this year Tom did not buy one for the first time. We didn't buy a tote.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all glufosinate and gramoxone.
Yep.
I think we build up a little Roundup resistance in the
Oh,
ground
for sure.
too,
Yeah.
where it just doesn't work like it used to.
Right.
And we've switched to glufosinate as well on some stuff, especially
So-
our younger blocks.
Yep.
Yeah, just not brand new trees.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've done it on
3,
90% of the
4-year-old.
apples.
Right.
As long as we paint the trunks, we defoliate from, because obviously when we plant our apple trees, there's leaves from the ground all the way up to the top.
Yep.
And so we run through and just have the guys strip the leaves off right when they're young, and then we paint the trunks before we apply anything like that.
Yep.
Obviously cutting these suckers, even though glufosinate is labeled for suckers.
It is.
So
Yep. Absolutely. That's
Honeycrisp.
why it's not systemic.
It's a great point.
Did you guys used to do mouse guards before you started painting, or was
Mouse
that never-
cars?
Mouse
Mouse
guards.
guards.
Oh, you're talking about the wraps?
tree
You gave a
wraps.
bunch of those away,
Mouse
remember?
cars.
They're mouse cars. I was like, is this a fancy name for a mouse trap?
I gave a bunch of them away.
Yeah, remember you had a bunch of the white cones. You said you found a bunch here, or someone was giving them away. You were offering them out. This is like 3
I don't give
years
away
ago.
free stuff.
No, you're right. You don't. And I think we actually put
But
them
I
on
probably
a bunch
did.
of. I think we moved a bunch of trees from Maplehurst.
Mm.
We replanted a bunch for them.
Gotcha.
We may have put them on there to help
Nice.
support those young trees. We
Yep.
dug them up with our JCB with a tree transplanter, and then I was out with a John Deere with a 3-point auger and just digging holes, and we were just putting trees in. We've done that. We did that a couple years. Volunteer work at Cherokee, community
Wow.
oriented is on the logo. So we like to do a little donation, little volunteer
On
work,
the logo.
little volunteer work for the local community. This serves us so well.
Yep.
So did you answer my question?
What was your question?
Did you guys used to do mouse guards?
No,
before
never.
Never?
No,
Okay.
I've never done that. We always just paint trunks, which obviously isn't for mice. It's to reflect sun damage and cracking in the winter, bouncing off the snow.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we've never done that. We've always just thrown some mouse bait out.
Okay.
Obviously, in the non-organic,
Right.
conventional farms, we do that.
Right.
We do a mix
Yeah,
of
we
crack
used to
corn
put
and
mouse
rose
guards
hall.
on.
What? You guys mainly do fencing for animal.
Deer.
Yeah, deer, rabbits.
I don't know. The rabbits don't. They sneak right through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything that climbs can get over. Even deer at a full jump, I've seen them clear the
Can
fence.
hop 'em,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah. Do you guys
But for
do
the most
anything?
part.
Because
Yeah,
There's fences, so yeah, the fence.
we've started fencing it.
Yeah.
If we're doing new plantings, we fence.
I think that's about the only thing that works. There's a lot of chemicals and a lot of different things you can spray.
We've talked about it. We touched on the hot sauce, egg
Yep.
mix.
Right. So we did talk about that already. So
Yep.
yeah, fencing.
There is
100%.
some stuff I used. We've tried 2 different things. There's stuff called Contra.
Mm.
We get through another person,
Yep.
another company, and then Tom came back with this like powder stuff we tried last year too, especially in our nursery up here.
Yeah,
we put
yeah,
an
yeah.
electrical fence up around it because it's a temporary farm,
Right.
and the little electric fence, where it has like one that's
Right.
3 feet, and then
And then
4 feet back there's 2 of them.
Yep.
2
Yep.
lines, and those do well if they're not on a run or if they're just kind of walking by and they bump it and they don't like it,
Yeah.
but they still get in there.
Yeah.
So we're trying everything we
So
can.
this
There's a little
powder
tea
you
damage.
put in there.
We mix it. I don't remember what it's called. I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
We used to do the dial soap in the baggie, hang it on the tree.
Yep.
Then we switched to
Did you guys?
cayenne pepper,
Yep.
hot sauce.
Yep.
And nothing.
Yeah,
It works
yeah.
great. Fence was the best thing.
Yep.
It is. It's
There's,
a little more
uh,
expensive, but it's permanent as long as you can keep the trees
Right.
from falling on it.
Right.
And people keep the gates closed.
And if people
Yeah.
shut the gates, yes, we put the cattle guards in,
Yep.
and for the most part, they do a pretty decent job.
What about in the winter?
Um,
I've heard that's the problem.
well,
with-
we have one that was really close to the county road,
Yep.
and it was full of the top. Like deer were walking right over it. Like there was 2 feet of snow on top of the grate. I mean, it was
Yeah.
so packed down.
Yeah.
So we obviously go through and check them, and a lot of the times they'll just die in there if there's no water source.
Right.
But some farms have lakes. I mean, you guys love digging ponds on your farm. You got ponds
we
everywhere.
got ponds everywhere.
And
know.
plugged up drains. Yeah, even had local farmers complaining at
Oh
breakfast.
boy.
about-
Yes, we did hear all about
Fortunately,
that.
That's,
I think 2
on
breakfasts in a
on
row
leased
now.
Land.
Yep.
That's not our
leased
concern.
So it becomes
You hate to see
a
it.
Cherokee issue.
Well, no, it's still the Nameless Farms issue
Oh,
because
No,
we haven't dealt with
actually,
it
it's
yet.
not.
it sounds like yeah.
Different part of the family.
I guess. What else you have for us, Steve? Steve actually brought a lot of great notes this week.
Man, I've just been making notes
It's a
all day.
note-making machine.
Just I
Just
don't
killing
know.
it.
You know, we were going to talk like pest of the week. We've kind of talked about already. Scale.
Yeah, we did. And
San Jose scale.
And how to fight it.
Yes. Yes, we did. So we won't go down that road too much, but oil is great this time of year. Try and suffocate it. The crawler stage will come later in the spring where they actually start moving around. And that's a good time to hit them with some other insecticides. So we talked about plantings, grass seed. You guys were talking about soybeans already.
Yes.
Yeah,
What happened
the
to
weather,
that? I heard
the
you
weather's-
guys.
The weather's been nice. Some people want to get them in the ground early, but I think it's still a little bit too cold.
Yeah.
Especially seeing some of the potential temperatures here the next few nights.
Yeah. What are soil temps right now? Does anybody know?
I don't even know.
I don't know.
I need to get a reader somewhere.
So what's the fear of planting a soybean too early? Is it
A
when
frost.
when the plant comes up out of the ground, you get
Yeah,
a frost
it'll
kills it, and then
frost,
you got to
yep.
start over from
And the beans won't regrow.
So the
Yeah,
the plant could potentially recover, and if you just sit on it, then you'll grow. The plant will grow, but there's no beans on it, and you wasted your whole summer.
No,
It just fries out.
Yep. Yeah, corn can come back. Beans won't.
Gotcha.
So then you're in there replanting again, and then you're got such a difference in maturity dates between
Makes
the
it tough
first
to-
planting.
yeah,
It's
makes it tough to harvest.
So
Yeah, we kind of were thinking the same thing because we just started putting grass seed down in that in that 100 acres that we just planted last year. Mostly because it's going to take a little bit for that grass seed to kind of germinate and pop up. So if you start looking at the temps after this week, we're in the upper 60s to mid 40s every night. So hopefully by the time that pops up, or at least the rye portion of the mix will pop up and will be good.
Right.
yeah,
So that was our thought behind that. That's what I've been working on this week is cultivating those rows. And
And obviously you're not putting
Smooth
straw
it out.
on a
no
operation
we
that
have
big.
I have it behind our K7220. I think it's called a cultimulcher, technically. It has two big rolling steel gangs with steel discs on it, and it kind of just packs the ground in, and it has behind it has our cedar that has like rib discs on it. I'm sure there's some really great fancy terms of actually what those
Right,
things are.
right. You just butchered it. But that's okay.
Oh, I'm sure I butchered it. Hey, I just pull the stuff and plant the seed,
Yep,
and I
yep.
just it does a great job. So that's what we pull to plant ours. I think we're aiming for about 30 pounds to the acre in the rows. Obviously, when you are turning around because of the way orchards are, we do alternate middles while we plant,
Yep.
odd and even, one row, one more in, one row out, skipping them. So the more rows you do in a loop, so say you skip two because maybe your tractor can't turn that sharp, that's just wasted seed on the border.
Right.
So the first thing you see in an orchard is the grass pops up on the edges because you travel it so many times.
Yep.
But you also got to be careful because if you do the borders last and you do an end pass, you create a bump at the beginning and end of every single row. So we've traditionally, we rock the borders first and then do the edges.
Gotcha.
So it's smooth for the trucks when they turn rows or when you cross a driveway.
the borders,
Yeah, the edges.
the headlands.
The headlands? Yes,
Oh, the
That's so
headlands.
funny. The headlands. Very funny.
Right. Because bumps in orchards are very bad.
Well, we kind of, like Bruce alluded to
Just
last
annoying.
week, is we went
Yeah.
through a rough patch of just kind of planting trees as fast as you can without taking good care of the soil, or not the soil, but the strips in which we drive, which our trucks are big and heavy, so there's a lot of compaction going on. But also as an operator, if you're going through orchards and you're just bouncing like this all day long, like you can make the trucks as comfy as you want. When you're
Yeah.
spraying 200 acres a person a day, that gets rolled real quick, and it's tough on the obviously tough on the operator, tough on the equipment. That's why
Right.
our spray truck is broken half,
Yeah.
and we had to completely redo it, which it is now back out in the orchard sprayed today for the first time.
Nice.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's great to have that.
Everything
back.
went well.
Issue free first day.
It's what?
I said issue free first day.
Besides the fact the computer wasn't calibrated off the bat, so the guy drove it from Q8 and out to Acme, and then realized that it was spraying willy nilly because it was never truly tested, which got a little under somebody's skin.
It wasn't
Yeah.
spraying willy nilly going down the road, does it?
No,
Oh, gosh.
no.
That's
It's just
what
when
I
he got
thought.
to the orchard, it wasn't calibrated or anything in the Raven system, so
Yeah.
it was spraying at whatever rate it was putting out.
Bruce told me
unloaded.
at breakfast that he was going to be the one to test that.
Well, that did not happen.
No, he was busy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing other things that day, I believe, because when I got a phone call saying he had to go calibrate a sprayer, and only one of them needed new calibration.
What is there to calibrate if it's all GPS?
A new system, I think the Ravens require a certain amount of spraying done in order to like calibrate the system. It's just like
Okay.
when you buy a brand new side by side, you have to, or a snowmobile, you have to run it for a break-in period.
So there's a break-in period.
I think it's it's not called a break-in period, but I think you have to apply for so
Have you
long
had
to
to
let it
do
all
this?
set up. No, I don't do that.
Oh.
Dude, I don't mess with that.
Why not? You're the
Because-
you're the young gun at the. You
Dude.
should be knowing all this technology stuff.
Dude, I just do the GPS. That's my thing. Dude, I got my sprayer set up.
Did you GPS
50-50.
on your grass seed? Nice straight lines.
Absolutely, dude. I took the planting track from when we planted 21 feet, so I shifted it over 10 and a half. Put me right in the middle.
Wow.
Done deal. But our planter, the cedar is actually behind the mulcher, the packer, I call it. And so it's actually super long. So when you're on a hillside, the cedar actually kind of drags downhill a little bit.
Yep.
So what I do is I have a shift increment set up on there so I can
Yep.
just tap a button and it shifts the track. You see the steering wheel just turns
Nice.
and it moves it over a little bit just to compensate.
Yep.
Because the tractor still stays in the same spot. It obviously compensates, but the longer something's behind the tractor, the more drift it has.
So you have your Calda muncher in front of the cedar,
Yes. So it's,
and then
it's
do you
packing
pull
the
do you
tractor's
pull a
track.
packer behind
No,
the cedar?
The cedar
No?
acts as its own kind of
It's got a
packer.
packer wheels on
it
it.
has a
Okay.
packer wheel on front, and then it actually has two wheels, and the
Okay.
seed drops in between them.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it actually falls in between them. Actually, I think it falls in front because I can see the seed falling from the cab.
Okay.
So it falls in front, and there's a big one, probably about that big, then the smaller ones like that, and then it's super nice. You can see it on next week's video on Pomes and Stones.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll have to check that out.
Yes, the entire packing and seeding process will be out next week.
Will our little forklift experience on Thursday be on this
yes,
week's
it will be.
episode?
I think we quit recording because it was going so poorly, and the battery died. So Zach came over after we discussed at breakfast that Zach was going to throw some rye down. I said, "Dude, don't buy rye.
Right.
We have all those tanks. We have
Yep.
30 tanks."
Right.
And he goes, "No, we're just going to buy some."
No,
Or
I think
Dor-
you said,
even
yeah,
Doris
yeah,
was-
yeah.
I was the one that suggested just coming to get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Dorrance, sorry, I probably shouldn't name anybody. DA was
boy.
somebody in the
Yeah,
office
our,
there
our-
was
our
fighting
4
you.
bags didn't quite get it done, so I went and got
Gotcha.
6 cherry tanks.
Oh, sweet.
And boy,
That's a lot more than 4 bags.
That's a lot more.
yes.
Yep.
Did you spread it all out that day?
No.
Is this
We're
sitting in the tank?
still in process. We
Gotcha.
are 4 tanks down. We got 2 to go.
Nice.
Do you need more?
No,
We have plenty.
no.
Lay it on thick, dude.
Yeah, it's laid on super thick.
It needs to be thicker. So the inside joke, I don't know if Steve, you heard it at breakfast, is so we had a farm that we pulled out and we planted rye or wheat, whatever it was.
Right.
It's rye. And
For a cover crop.
yep, for a cover crop. And Amos Farms harvested it with a combine, and we pretty much just sent bus trucks out there with empty cherry tanks
Mm.
and filled up some of it, right? You guys took some, I'm
We
assuming?
took some, to
Yeah,
put down in a couple of
and-
our
Gotcha.
fields.
Exactly. We wanted
Nice.
to keep it to do the same stuff.
Yep.
And it sat in the barn for 7 years, 7
Mhm.
years, like forever. And we've been taking it tank by tank and spreading it, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Too many. And then last year we spread a whole bunch, maybe like, I don't know, 10 tanks out on a 12-acre field, and not one bit of it took. And I was like, well, maybe
Oh, boy.
maybe it finally, that
Yeah.
was it.
Maybe
Maybe that was
finally
it.
dried up.
We're going to find out.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're like ready to dump it in a lime spreader and just lay it thick in one field and just
Yeah.
disc it in.
Feed the birds.
Right. So then Zach called and was like, "Can I come get those tanks?" I said, "Yes." You said you wanted 4. Then you
Yep,
took
then
6.
we took 6.
And I tried to put 8 on.
You were going to try.
I
but
tried to put 8 on, and Zach goes,
I'd
"Hey,
been-
what are you
I'd been
doing?"
there long enough waiting for that. waiting to
Well,
get
okay,
6
so
tanks
Zach,
out.
Zach pulls up right into the front of the barn, and there's absolutely nowhere for me to load this up. Well, maybe you thought I had a red for a field forklift. That probably
Yeah.
would have made a difference.
I could have got it loaded.
Not with our forklift the way I was doing it. So on the edges of our driveway, we have a pretty narrow driveway.
Yep.
And Zach just kind of had the truck parked like I was just going to drive in the lawn with
Right.
a regular high-low,
Gotcha.
which was not working. Because as soon as I tried to back up, sunk right to the
Yeah,
truck.
yeah,
And we
yeah.
tried, what, three different spots?
Yeah. You'll see.
And then we finally backed
a
it up into the
calamity.
right spot. And I was like, dude, just back up in front of the doors. And then it was like, put the tanks on. It took us 20 minutes to get the first tank
Oh
on.
boy.
Yep.
After I was on the phone for a half hour. Zach
Yeah.
pulled up and I was talking to Tom for like ever. He was chatty.
Tom?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He had been gone downstate for a couple days
yeah.
doing bees.
Yeah.
So
needed
he
to
was on
catch
his
up.
way back up and he must have been bored in traffic.
Lonely in the ride.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the bees are downstate. We should be hitting full
Nice.
bloom this weekend. Probably full bloom right now downstate.
Yep.
So
Will they be out running fans down there tonight, or is it not supposed
I'm
to
not
get
sure
that
what the
cold?
temps are
Yeah.
down there
You
or
should
tonight.
check.
We can
Curious.
look it up here. We will look it up. Do I have it saved? Oh, haven't looked in a while. I could check our Dowagiac. Dowagiac, they call it. 38 degrees. It's going to be warmer down there, which it usually is.
That's the temp right now, though?
That's the low.
Tonight.
The
is
low tonight
is
is
38.
down there.
Hmm.
Might be 38 right now. I'm not sure if the Hobo Link is working.
Gotcha.
The current system we use is called Hobo Link.
Hmm.
So at least I got to check the Hobo.
Nice.
It's pretty funny. So what else you got, Steve?
You know?
What have you been doing the last couple of
Yeah,
weeks,
what do
Steve?
you,
Oh,
you're not working on the in-laws.
right.
You're back to
That's
farming.
pretty much done.
I
Actually,
think you've
today.
been busy doing some driving.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of driving going on. Yeah. Just a busy week of moving some chemicals and fertilizer. It's always a busy time of the year because fertilizer, seed, chemicals, it's all going on right now. So after we get past the fertilizer and seed stage, it's
Full
a little
time?
easier to keep up. Yeah. But
It does ramp up quick.
it ramps up real quick. Yeah. You know, the other part of it is my wife's or mine and my wife's and my in-laws farm market opens in 10 days.
Nice.
So getting that ready.
Is there a big event? Anything you'd like to advertise for free? That's just this week.
Right. There's a big right, the grand opening this year is the Mother's Day, right?
Ooh, I have to get my wife a gift still.
They do the pancake breakfast on Mother's Day. That's always been a pretty big hit. So, but no, they're getting the store ready. I was in there today trying to hook up the ice machine.
How did
We
the
got an
honey?
ice machine.
How'd the honey look?
The honey looks good.
Nice.
Yep.
Is it crystallized?
Yes,
That's good because that
it
means
is
it's
good.
real honey.
It's real honey. I know.
Just put that in some warm water; it'll
Yep.
decrystallize.
Yep. If you want some honey from
Cherry Bee.
Cherry
Cherry
Bee,
Bee Inc.
Myrtle and Mods carries that.
As well as Shoreline products.
Yep.
Cherry Bay retail
Yep.
brand.
Will you
Yep.
guys have eggs at the pancake breakfast if some guy on a
So-
carnivore
On a
diet
carnivore
wanted
diet
to-
comes in there looking for
So
16.
my mom,
$42
I
meal.
know. I love eggs. So usually towards the end of the pancake cook-off, I usually run into the house and grab a carton of eggs, and my mom will.
Pancake cook-off?
It's
that
not a
what it
cook-off.
is?
It's not a cook-off. It's just
Okay.
a pancake breakfast.
Mm.
But yeah, I usually run in the house and I grab, a dozen eggs, and I say, my mom's usually the one cooking the pancakes, so I say, hey, can you make me some eggs?
Have you guys ever been to Flapjacks and Flannels?
No.
The party?
Mhm.
Last couple of years I've gone. It's like a big, the 2 years I went, I think it's been at, where's Suds and Snow always at? Timber Ridge, Timberlee, where is it at?
Mount
You guys don't do
Holiday?
that either?
Nope.
No.
Christ.
Nope. You're
Flapjacks and
speaking Spanish to me.
No, I'm not, but I can. Should we have a Spanglish guy on? My Spanglish speaker from my YouTube channel just rolled into town last night, and he's ready to rip. He says we should make a second.
Oh,
Pomes and Stones.
one of the H2A guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his name's Nico.
A second Pomes and Stones? Why?
Yeah, Pomes and Stones Espanol
That's
Oh, boy.
for the amigos. Double the income, double
Yeah,
the videos.
yeah.
Instead of me talking, he'll just describe
Just
what
have
they're
it,
doing. in
just have him
Spanish.
do the voiceover.
That's great.
I should. He's so funny. I'm sure he would love to come on here. He won't understand a thing we're saying.
Yeah.
That's what would make it more entertaining.
It absolutely would. It would be very funny. So the market first
Yes.
weekend coming up. And
Yeah.
then
So
are
it
you
opens
open?
Thursday.
Okay. For the long weekend.
What
So-
is the date today?
Are you guys traditionally staying open weekend after weekend, or are you in a event type schedule until summer hits?
No, I think so. When they open for Mother's Day, they'll be open.
Every weekend?
Yeah, until August. No, every day.
And every day of the week?
Yep.
Wow.
until August. They will close in August, from what I understand.
And then you do the fall pop
The
up
big fall.
shows.
Yeah. We close in August to kind of prepare ourselves for the fall.
Yeah, you guys switch all like the interior
Right.
out and the outside decorations and the
Yep.
whole shebang.
Yeah. So
So you open Thursday?
Thursday.
Or you open Mother's Day?
that we open Thursday,
Okay.
the 8th. I think that's the 8th. So
Mother's Day's the 11th, right?
yes.
Is it?
So
Okay.
that would be
That's-
Sunday.
Mother's
Yes,
Day
it's
is always on a
the
Sunday.
It's always on a Sunday. My bad. My bad. Where have I been? Yeah. So that's when the pancake breakfast will be Sunday morning.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll be on the golf course with my mom.
Oh, nice.
She likes going golfing.
Yeah. Yep. That's cool.
It's a great way to get on the course.
Yeah.
Like, sorry,
Good
babe,
time.
gotta
Great.
get out there.
Yeah. Get to spend your time with your mom.
Yep.
Play golf.
Yeah,
It's great.
she likes it. I mean, most of the time I book it for 18, but she's tapped out by.
Mhm.
Done at 9.
She does enough swings for
Yeah.
18 in the night.
Yeah.
But it's the time spent that matters, right?
Right. Exactly.
Where do you go? Just a resort?
Yeah. Usually we just hit the resort. Probably better off going to Elk
You might
Rapids.
be spraying this year on Mother's Day.
Could be. It's always Memorial Day that I always try my best to take Memorial Day off because I always miss
Never
4th
gonna
of July on
Mm-hmm. For
'cause
cherry
for
harvest.
cherry
Right.
harvest. I'm
Yeah.
like, if there's one day that I could, because sometimes it's nice, and we've had 85, and we've been on the boat. I mean, the water is it's
Memorial Day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We've had really hot Memorial Days, or we've had cold and rainy.
Mhm.
Yep.
But I like to try and take it off if I can, just because we're obviously gone for the 4th.
Yep.
But what I've learned since doing apples is that usually lands in the thinning
Doesn't
window,
matter. Yep.
Yes.
which is difficult because that's the more that I've done it, which is 2 years now, is that window can be very slim.
Very small.
Yeah, so it's like it's there.
Yeah.
So
So
that's something
last year on
fun to
Memorial
adjust
Day,
on.
did you get to go out on the boat?
I don't remember what I did last Memorial Day. Was
Remember
it
it
nice?
downpoured. It was hot, and we
Just
got
rain.
a crap load of rain.
Then I
like
guess I wasn't
2 or
I
3
probably
inches.
wasn't on the water. Though.
No. And then I remember it quit raining. I don't know, early afternoon, but we got a couple inches.
Oh.
And it was hot, muggy, and I remember the next morning it rained again, like an inch.
Hmm.
And I think that's when a lot of
Leaf spot.
inspections.
I think that's when everyone got popped on the leaf
Yep.
spot.
Yep.
It was a lot.
I mean, because if
of
you didn't get out between the end of that rain on Memorial Day and the rain the next morning, you're fighting back at it, right?
Yep.
So
And it hit. It hit a
Real
lot of
bad.
people. I remember going down Elk Lake Road,
it was tough.
and they were like,
And I don't know.
like
I don't
July,
know.
no people
So,
didn't have leaves.
as-
It's like how you gonna color your
Right,
crop
as-
with no,
Yeah.
no foliage?
I know. I think also, I think the town of Traverse City plays a role on Williamsburg area because I feel like there's so much concrete that it gets a little bit warmer as the air moves across there and comes into us. And I think because
There's so much concrete.
yeah, in Traverse City, it's
Yeah,
just
I've
like
never heard that theory before.
I think that's because you think about the water coming across the lake is getting cooled a little bit.
It keeps us.
But what's south of the lake is Traverse City. So it just depends on which way the wind's blowing and everything. But I think, and I don't think it's like Elk Rapids and south. I think it's like somewhere Williamsburg and south might be a degree or two warmer, which for diseases,
It does vary.
that makes a huge difference.
It does vary a lot because, like I was saying, my tower, well, mine, that's what I call it my tower. Because
Yep.
when I used to live out at the Cox Farm in Williamsburg, in the farmhouse there, we have our Grand Traverse Tower is out there.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce's tower is over off of Western Road in
Yep.
the valley that he's talking about. So it's like Bruce could be out running around doing wind machines all night, but my tower might not go below 35
Mm-hmm.
just based on the
Yeah. I don't know.
just where you're
And
at.
I'm not sure saying
Well,
it's
I mean,
Traverse City, but
It's very true though.
The
Lakes,
water-
the bays definitely take a huge effect into the
Yeah.
weather in the area because they keep
Yes.
us warm and they also can keep us cold when they freeze over.
Right.
It's lake effect snow and
yep.
also keeps us nice and toasty on
Mhm.
cold nights because when you start going inland, just like the freeze event,
Right.
and all the rain they had, or the freezing rain in Gaylord, and even a little bit north, like you're saying. I mean, clearly the line was
Right.
north of Auguming because we didn't have any problems.
Right.
Kings didn't have any problems. The Royal Farms, did you hear about them having issues with the?
Um,
I haven't heard a thing, so I'm doubting
no.
they did. But
Right.
East Jordan did,
Yes.
and Royal Farms isn't that far from
No.
East Jordan. So it's funny how
just
like you're saying,
inland,
and
a
just
couple
a little
degrees,
bit in, just a little
a couple
bit inland.
degrees.
Very true.
So I don't know if it's a thing, but that's what my mind. That's what my
It's
mind tells me.
It's definitely a thing.
I think.
We've covered your notes.
Covered all your
Right.
notes already.
Yeah,
They
I
were
mean, we
right for
skipped
a
around a
while.
little bit. You know, there's a couple things we didn't touch on, but I don't think we want to go back.
I did want to touch on. So we talked about what we're doing now or what we did last week. What's for the future? What are we doing for our trees coming up? What are we protecting for?
Mm,
Why did we spray copper on apples?
right.
We do a lot of copper. Well, one, you get infection, get scab.
Scab.
Yep.
Yep. So we go in and put copper on, try to keep that out. And then we also try to use the copper for potential fire plate protection.
It's a great thing to spray right off the bat.
Yep.
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 Because
we
if
try
you-
to get as many covers of copper on early
This copper,
for fire blade.
depending on your type of copper, also, and your timing can cause
Mm,
russeting on the fruit,
right.
which for russeting, if I'm not mistaken, occurs first on the shoulders of the apple, which
Correct.
is from the stem, kind of as it curves down, and
Right.
the chemical or the water kind of pools in that area, and that affects the color, discolors, and can even deform the fruit, right?
Right.
If it's bad enough. And so
I
you try
mean,
to
any
avoid
kind
that.
of scarring on a fresh apple, right, is going to make it unsaleable.
Right. And obviously, if I'm sure everyone listening has bought an apple at the store, and if it has a little ding in it or it looks a little funny, you're not going to buy that one. You're going to
Right.
buy the best looking apple.
Right.
So that's funny about apple farmers. I mean, even in cherries, I mean, you can take a deformed cherry and you pit it and you dry it or you juice it and you never see it.
Right.
I mean, in a dried cherry, you can't tell if it had a little dip in it.
Right.
But in apples, it's all based on eye candy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And fresh.
Yep. Colors.
And
And
fresh,
you're
right? Sorry,
processing
yeah. I mean,
it,
you
okay.
do that. Yeah, that's
Right.
very true. But if you're gonna feel really bad about dumping Honeycrisp into the juice bin into the slicer
Right.
when you
Yeah.
could be fetching a lot more money for them. But also, that's a great way if you have issues with your fruit. It's good to have an outlet that you could still get something for it, even though sometimes you probably, if it's bad enough, you don't get anything for it.
Right. Right. Yep.
So in the future, we're gonna obviously stop using copper at some point, and we're gonna start rotating some fungicides. And
Correct.
we rotate, as we touched on before, because we don't want to build resistance. You can't use the same type of chemistry and the same mode of action consistently, or the disease gets used to it. And
Yeah.
it knows, and it
I
figures
mean,
out how to fight it. It
Right.
adapts.
If one thing survives it,
Mm-hmm.
then it multiplies. Right.
So we use, what do we use? I'm thinking about probably like 5 or 6 different products that we rotate.
Yeah. We
Probably
use-
only 2 covers in a row of the same
Right.
fungicide,
Yeah.
we go
and we,
Try
and we
not to.
pair it with multiple different modes of
Yes.
action.
So,
Mhm.
right. The only time I could see like using 2 back to back is if you spray and then you get like an inch of rain the next day and you need to recover.
Which was last year.
Yeah.
Because we were spraying like every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. on
Which
apples.
sometimes
Yep.
you can on apples. I mean, if you're covered before a rain event and it rains, a little bit,
Enough.
even an inch,
Yeah.
and it doesn't, and it, you're looking at 15 days with nothing. You don't have to go back out.
Right.
You can really stretch it, which saves you money. You don't have to go back unless you want to put some calcium on.
Right.
I mean, there's reasons to go out even if
Yes.
in powdery mildew if you go for too long.
Right. Because
of dry-
powdery
of dry
mildew
spells.
thrives in dry conditions.
Right. So there's a potential for that to fire up, but.
Yep.
Or if you're fancy enough and you have a fertigation system, you can apply your calcium.
Fertigation. Back to the technology on the farm.
Yes, we
Hey,
also
you're
do
not
that.
going through with a spreader as
True.
often,
Yep. Or
and you're spoon feeding your crop.
exactly. And a lot of things like to be uptaken through the root system more than foliar,
Correct.
or it takes more.
Right.
You can put less down for better uptake.
right. The big ones, right? MPK is better
So
through the roots.
We use what did he say? What was our type of pump called?
Oh boy.
Negative displacement. Is that what it was? I forget what he.
Yeah.
Well, I forget
It's
exactly.
too big of
what it's
words.
called.
Too
I
big of
forget
words.
Exactly what it's called. So anyway, it kind of pumps it in. You set it to gallons per acre, and then we change our zones. So we fill up pretty much a tote of our fertilizer. We're going to touch on what we use.
Yep.
The 999.
In the future.
We're
Yep.
going to talk about that coming up on a product that we use and we like that's really helped take our apple orchard to the next level with our growth on our young trees. So we pretty much have a mixture in a tote with some other nutrients as well as the 999.
Yep.
and we pump that in at whatever our desired rate is, or yours, whatever you choose. And it goes right into our irrigation. And we can change our zones. It's all connected Bluetooth to our phones. Some pretty cool technology.
That is cool.
So you can set your whole orchard up to a certain amount of hours. So we turn the pump on, connect it, and it pumps it right into the water system coming out of after the well, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because the water doesn't come out of the ground without the well. So
Right.
it has to come out after.
I'm glad you clarified that. Yeah.
You know, people say we need to break things down more. So
I know.
The well brings the water up, folks,
Yep.
and then it moves to the orchard.
Yes.
And it's diverted by these mechanical things called zones.
Valves control these zones.
Valves control
Electronic
zones.
valves.
That's right. Ours are on our phone, so we can choose it, and then we set it so you can do the math you want to get your amount per acre.
Yep.
And bada boom, bada bing, you can apply nicely.
Nice.
It's a great way to do things without having to go out with a sprayer.
How do you clean your irrigation then inside your lines?
We have not yet. The only thing that we have done is for the first time last year, I had the guys, because all of our ends of our lines are tied. They're bent over
Right.
and they have the figure eight. Have you ever seen them?
Yep.
Or we use electric tape. We just
Yep.
But so we just cut it and we let the lines run. And you'd be surprised, even after a year, it'll shoot black dirt out for 3-4 seconds. And then we'll let it run till it's clear and we fold them back up.
Gotcha.
But we should be putting something through,
Right.
probably to help clean the emitters out, because a lot of the time your emitters are still good, but
Well,
they're still
right.
plugged up.
Right. You just got
And an emitter is inside
minerals
the
in your water,
irrigation.
right?
Well, yeah, it all depends on your well as well.
Yeah.
You could have well as well.
Right.
It's a lot of wells in one sentence.
Just two.
Just two. So it's one too many.
Right. So hard water, right, can plug your emitters.
And your emitters can be perfectly fine. And emitters are little plastic parts that when they reach a certain pressure, they will start dripping. And you can have different size ones that let out more or less water depending on what your goal is or what type of irrigation you buy.
Yep. So does like each tree have an emitter?
I don't think the spacing doesn't work out that perfect because depending on where you cut the line or if you have a short row, it kind of throws it off.
Right.
But usually they're within a certain foot and a half that
Well, the roots,
they always hit.
the roots will
They'll get
run
there.
to
They'll
it.
get the water.
Oh yeah.
They'll get to the water.
Yep.
So that's a great. We should have touched on that in the tech section.
Oh, no, it's great.
But-
It's great.
And you guys were interested in doing that on your farm. What brought about that? Do you
I
have
mean,
a young
just
block that you're
I've
looking to
always
start that
wanted
on,
to
or-
do it, and I try and get more people to do it
You should come out and see it when we set it up.
because the dry fertilizer thing.
Oh, it's expensive.
It's expensive. You know, there's just too much. You're depending on Mother Nature for rainfall.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the heat, the sunlight, volatilization, leaching, all those things can happen. And it can happen to your, like your guys' setup. But when you're spoon feeding it like that, it's throughout the season feeding.
Yeah,
what
we do it
needs.
every week.
Yeah.
We do it the same day
So
every
like
week.
the old way of doing it was to just go out and spread a couple 100 pounds of fertilizer, and
in the spring and just
right, you get a bunch of rain and 2, 3, 4 inches and
especially depending on your soil type.
runoff. Right. So I think it's a great way to do things. I want to do it on my farm. Yeah. And we've talked about it. We haven't gotten to it
You
yet.
have irrigation already established,
Yes.
and it's not. It's
Easy
it's so
peasy.
simple.
I know.
It'll just be another little check valve or something
Yeah.
to give to just to hook yourself up after the water comes up out of the ground.
Right.
Very simple.
Yeah. We're going to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
This year, we already got dry fertilizer on order because we're
You're
not
not
ready
there
for it yet. So,
We have to put all of our irrigation in yet on our new planting.
oh yeah,
Which is always fun because obviously in high density you have to drive posts into the ground. And so when we're driving posts into the ground, you definitely got to be careful because, well, at that farm, at the Ferris farm, we left all the irrigation in. We didn't dig up all the old pipe, just like any normal person would, I
right,
guess.
right.
So when we put all those posts in, we were just kind of guessing where the main was.
Oof.
We knew where the subs were because you could still have those old zone boxes. We're still like at the surface. And so we're pounding posts and hoping we're not finding the 3-inch line. And then we kind of just dig it up from time to time.
Yep.
And so we've actually been lucky. We
Jeez.
haven't hit it yet. But we have
crazy.
we have one more patch.
You better knock on wood.
It's a pain, dude.
Yeah.
But it's really, I mean, PVC pipe and all of the fittings and the whole shebang. I mean,
Right.
The benefits outweigh the cost.
Yep.
It might be a little bit upfront, but being able to control your water on dry years and
Yes.
or just turn it off. And we'll talk a little bit, probably next 2 weeks. 2 weeks from
2
now.
weeks from now,
probably
we're
talk
gonna
2 weeks
really,
from now.
really
We're gonna
dig
get
into
into the
this.
soil.
Yeah.
And we use soil probes
Yep.
on our farm in order to kind of monitor in real time what the water's like. And we
Yep.
have those kind of
It also
in each
has
variety.
like EC readings, right?
I'm not sure. I could probably
Yes.
I'm gonna look into that more. I
So
gotta
in a
fire
couple
that up.
weeks, we'll hear more about that. But it can actually, these probes can
What is
actually,
EC?
there's not really a definition for it, but it's just like electrical charges, I think is what EC stands for. And what it's really detecting is your fertilizer in the ground.
Mm. Nice. Seems like a great thing to monitor
Yes.
if it's there
Right.
or if it's gone.
Yep. But Megan in a couple weeks will dig
Yes.
Get into
deeper
all
into
that.
that.
Yeah, she's gonna blow your socks.
So I
off.
don't want to, I probably already screwed it up. So,
That's why we're gonna have people
She'll
like we
correct
said.
it.
yep.
Oh yeah, sure. We're gonna ask Steve what EC means in front of Megan and see what her reaction is.
Electrical charge.
Electrical charge. I'm not sure that's it.
No, it can't be.
I think it's something conductivity,
Yeah. Ooh, electrical conductivity.
something like that. I think.
Electrical charge.
We have a
What's
guy
the
with a-
difference?
we have a guy with a laptop here that is not googling
Right?
any
No.
answers for us. He's
I
just
know.
he's
We'll
over
find
there.
out in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
He's over
don't-
there. He's over there on the Facebook.
We don't want to spoil it.
He's half here. Oh man,
Oh, sweet.
so
So,
funny.
yeah, so we talked about, covered some good things.
Covered some great.
We even
things.
talked about cannons for hail,
we did. We did.
Maybe frost one day.
right? Maybe frost.
That's
Hey,
the
like
next-
it's getting
that's the next
frosty
thing.
out. Shoot the
Let's
cannon
light
off.
these cannons off.
Oh man, I can remember a few years ago, back to the frost thing, watching growers drive through their orchards with like a wood stove.
I forgot that's the guy over here on Elk Lake Road. Yeah, he has these trailers that you light a fire. And
Yes.
it has these little
Really?
2 fans,
Yep.
and they like slowly rotate. And he just pays guys to drive up and down. And then they pull in and they stoke the fire.
Stoke the
And
fire.
then they go drive up and down the roads.
I haven't
Or
seen it
goes.
in a number of years, but
yeah.
I thought that was
I've
Interesting.
seen people start brush fires.
Yeah.
But not drive through with the wood stove on the back. Of
It's
the truck.
very interesting. Yeah, it's like
Very-
it's like a couple metal fans
yeah.
attached to the back of a wood stove that's on a trailer.
That's
Single
one thing
axle
that's
trailer.
cool about farmers is
Do they find a way?
they find a way, and the
Find a
stuff
way to
that
do
they come up with and build it's incredible. So
I know. Look at our farm.
I know
We're
Transformer farm. man.
Weird-
School
weird
buses
oddball-
school buses
oddball.
for sprayers and
Yep.
School buses transfer our tanks
Yep.
with the rack trucks and yeah, what's been a nice change is we've moved away from the school buses for weed spray. We're going back to the pickup trucks.
Mm-hmm.
You have AC that's real
Right.
nice. You got the radio in the truck.
Yep.
Before I was rocking the earmuffs that had like the radio in them and stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
Gotten away from that.
Yep.
You don't have AC in the spray.
They do. They
That's
do.
what I thought.
But it's just, it's much more comfy to sit in a pickup truck, I guess, than sit in
Well,
a
true.
bus seat.
Yeah.
Mhm. No
That's
air.
just me.
No air ride in the bus seat.
The seats, yes, when it's working. Sometimes we don't have time to pull that in the shop. Or it's funny, the guys will be like, see, it's funny to see how long people will go before they
Before they wanna
complain
fix
about
it,
something,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, we had a guy who was mowing at the end of the year, and it was like, cold in October. We're doing the final cut, keep the grass low so the mice don't kind of burrow into it when the snow is on top. And we had, I think it was one of our case tractors, a smaller one, cab tractor, and there was a problem with the heat always being on, so they put some vice grips on a hose, and so it would stay cool. The air would stay cool. Don't ask me how that works or what that hose went to or is connected to, because that's not my department. And so it was later in the year, and this guy was mowing, and he's wearing Carhartts, bibs, like winter hat and gloves, driving the
Getting cold
tractor
in the
around.
tractor.
And someone said, how long is he going to do that before he asks why there's a pair of vice grips clamped to the side of this tractor? And he wore his Carhartts.
Did he ever ask or just?
I think someone eventually was
still?
like, hey, take these
Okay.
clamps off. And Then he was like, "Oh, nice." I mean, like when it's that cold and you're breathing in there, like it had to been fogging up.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
right.
there's no way he was probably
Constantly
wiping
wiping
it.
the
Right.
windows.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm like, holy cow! I would have done that for 10 seconds, and I would have been like, "Hey,
Something's
someone
wrong.
come help a brother out because this is I cannot work under these conditions."
Yep.
Yeah, so we have some interesting spray weather coming up. Some decisions to be made because depending on how much rain we get, kind of drives our decision because you can put a spray out and a lot of the stuff really has some decent legs on it. So you can actually get some decent weather
Right.
out of one application.
Yep.
But if you get a bunch at one time or you get multiple days in a row,
Yep.
then you need to kind of
Or at
adjust
the-
your
or at
spray
this point,
program.
You get a lot of growth.
Right, or
even
you get
what-
too much
yeah.
you get too much new
No matter
tissue
what
and
you
you have
put
to
on.
protect it.
Right.
Before, yep.
Yep. Yep.
So we kind of an interesting Sunday warm up, Monday mid 70s, and then kind of cools off on Tuesday with some rain. We have a nice day Wednesday.
It's gonna be cold Tuesday night.
Yep. And then we have a nice day Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday look like rain.
Up and down, rain. Yeah.
Might be some weekend apple spraying.
Yeah.
I think I'm targeting Wednesday. I'm gonna let it ride till through Wednesday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get it
Then
all
you're
done
gonna-
on
you're
Wednesday,
get
and then I'm
enough
gonna be sitting
rain
good.
and enough rain and new growth. You'll be spraying Saturday.
No way.
Oh yeah. Welcome
Not a
to,
chance.
Welcome to apples.
Not a chance. My spray program is top tier.
Nice.
It's not what we heard, right, Steve?
We will
Yeah,
see. That was a
man.
thinning. That was just a thing.
Still,
Yeah.
part,
Well,
of, still part of the
jeez.
spray program.
Right?
It's true. That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
Ah, it
Won't
turned
happen
out
again.
fine.
It did because I don't think the trees needed the extra weight
Yeah.
because they're still young. We had big apples, a lot of apples still.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you did.
We had a lot of apples.
had a lot.
I looked at that orchard. I said, "Wow, that's a lot of apples." So, have we covered it all? Do we think this is it? Any final thoughts?
Anything big coming up this
We're
week?
1
We'll
hour
just be
and 10 minutes
spraying?
in. Just spraying, I think.
Just spraying.
Our next guest is. I don't even. What's his title?
You got me.
I don't even know exactly what he does now after he's off the crop sites.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sure we'll figure all that
Ranch
out.
manager or something.
Regional, right?
Regional.
Midwest?
regional.
Midwest?
Regional hub manager,
Ooh,
I think.
we might have to get him a better chair.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Not sure that's
Yeah.
gonna fly.
Yeah.
I'm not giving mine out. This is a nice chair. This chair came out of nowhere this
I
week,
know,
and
I
I'm
know.
loving it.
Have to bring his own.
Yeah.
Part of the gig.
Yeah. Bring your own chair.
It's not BYOB, it's BYOC. That's very funny. Well, guys,
Yeah. I think
I think we've nailed
get your
it.
fertilizer out. Get your weed spraying done.
This week, we can't make recommendations for the future or a
Nope.
different growing region,
Nope.
depending on when you listen to this. Because
Right.
there's growers downstate that have pink on their trees,
Yes.
and they're going to be moving here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're
So-
not there yet.
No.
No,
no, no,
Copper
no.
sprays.
Yeah.
A little bit of weed spraying.
Yep.
Turning some more dirt.
Planting some more seed, picking some rocks.
Not yet. No, we're probably a week, 10 days away before we think about starting to plant.
We'll
But we'll get everything
we'll
ready.
touch on that next weekend.
Yep.
You'll have the planner out checking it over.
Nah, we won't.
Yeah. Not for a little while.
We're going to get fields fit and fitted, cleaned up. All we got to do is roll in.
When's your labor
fertilize.
show up? Any
They
guys
are
rolling in?
supposed to be in Monterey Wednesday.
Mm,
And
It's
then,
happening. Coming
yeah,
up.
but they won't get their visas issued until the following Tuesday.
Is it? Ooh.
So yeah, they're not going to be here. I'm thinking be the first weekend of May, 5th, 6th, something like that.
That's all right. I wish we had labor a couple weeks ago. Especially once we picked up spraying and everyone started spraying. It was like nothing else was getting done but
Yeah.
days and days of spraying in a row. It's like, oh, this is when we could have some other people to help do some other stuff. We have
Yep.
5 more cattle guards to put in that
Mm.
Tom and I usually do. We have to build our whole apple trellis system yet
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff we planted. Pick some fields, plant some cover crop coming up.
You got some fertilizer to spread in the organics.
Yes, we have some fertilizer. I think he wanted to start that Monday, but I'm not
Yes.
sure if that's going to happen because I think he sprayed. They got a couple tanks on today.
Yep.
They're going to do all day tomorrow,
Yep.
and we only have one truck. One of our
Mm.
organic trucks broke on the
Mm.
first day.
It was a spray truck.
Yep.
Mm.
I'm not sure what went wrong with it, but Juan broke it.
Oh,
Juan.
Come on, Juan.
hopefully they didn't chuck a hole and break the frame in half.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Not this.
Nope. So there's a lot of farming happening coming up, but
Getting busy.
Yep.
we'll check in next week on everyone's progress, and we'll talk about the weather. We thought, see if I spray on Saturday or
Yep.
spray on Wednesday.
Or both.
Could be both, depending on how much.
I'm betting both.
You think
What
of
do you-
both?
Yep.
You know what you're spraying next?
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think we're doing another copper.
No.
I think we're gonna. When I was out there today, I had starting to see leaves
Yeah.
break
Yeah.
from the. And that was on Gala.
Yeah.
So
Galas.
I didn't go back to the Jonagolds, and those were well far ahead of the rest of that farm.
We ride copper till pink.
You guys ride copper way deeper.
Just leave
than
the
rest.
oil out. Yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
We run oil all the way up to pink.
Yep.
They're crazy.
Been doing it-
I'm gonna
doing it
roll.
If you just
years.
lower the
I'm gonna
rate of
roll-
the oil.
Dude, I'm gonna roll some Scala next week. Scala,
Scala?
Yep.
Scala.
9.6 ounces of the acre.
There's people doing that. Yeah,
That's
we
what we
threw
do.
some. We actually threw in when we talked about apples earlier. We did have 3 pounds of manzate to the acre in our
It's always
apples.
3 pounds. That's the
Just to
extended.
give-
That's the extended rate west of the Rockies, east
Just
of the
to
Rockies. Sorry,
yep, give it some legs to that spray.
until 75 days out.
Oh, the pre-harvest.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's such a long way to think about something. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
You're thinking, oh, I got so much time because some stuff's like we complain about cherries having something that's 7 days,
yeah,
and then you roll into something that you don't think
75,
about that's
yeah.
months away, and you're like, oh, 75-day pre-harvest. If you're
Yeah.
not paying attention.
yeah.
And one of our processors has 80 days on neonics.
Yes,
So
right.
we've really got to pay attention to
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's
spray
tough.
calendar.
That's really
Over
tough.
here, delaying your harvest.
Yeah.
80 days.
That's so far.
That's so far.
That is crazy.
Yep.
Well, guys, I think this was
You're done?
successful. I'm ready.
You are?
We're tapped out at an hour 15.
Hour 15.
That's
Okay.
about our normal.
Yeah.
We're excited.
We're very excited. We got a lot of great things coming up, guys. You can find this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts except Google Play, because we don't mess with Google. We don't mess with Androids. Spotify, Apple Podcast, and you can catch the video version on the Pomes and Stones channel. We'll see you guys next week when we have an exciting new guest and a string of some great content coming up here on the Specialty Cropcast on Pomes and Stones.